All right, got the Subaru Bugeye in the shop today, and you saw one of my previous videos. I don't know how many videos ago it was, but drove this thing to Connecticut. On the way back, my throttle cable snapped, and my lower radiator hose is leaking now. So I'm gonna be doing that stuff, fixing those problems with this thing, and I'm also gonna be doing some stuff on the interior. So as you can see, the dash in it, I believe that's out of like an 04 WRX, and I don't like that. I want it to be the black one that came stock with this car. So I'm gonna go ahead and do is swap that out. And also, this radio doesn't work, so I'm gonna be swapping this out as well. Oh, I guess it's not even clipped in. So there's a lot of stuff on this car that need to be messed with. Might even put another steering wheel on since this one's kind of beat. And luckily for all that stuff, I got this part out right here. And actually, the main thing that came in pretty clutch was this throttle cable. So luckily it has a good throttle cable on it. Doesn't look like it's shredding. Looks pretty good condition, whatnot. Obviously it's not perfect. It's got a little cut right there. Not really concerned about that though. Should be fine. But yeah, so this throttle cable, for some reason, you cannot buy it at a parts store. You can't get it aftermarket. You can't get anything. The only way you can get it is from Subaru directly, and it was 80 bucks from them, and they wouldn't be able to get it for 5 days. So I already got one, so that's nice. Only thing I had to buy was the lower radiator hose because this thing doesn't have one. But as far as the interior goes, so as you can see, it's got the dash I want, the original one. It's not the 04 WRX one and 02. And this steering wheel is better condition. It's definitely worn still, but it's not cut and like missing pieces. So as you can see, I might be swapping this in. And the radiator's already out of it, but it's right here. And I don't know if it works. I am hoping it does, but I do like that it's the original one. I kind of like my interiors original. I don't like to mess with them too much. I'm not a fan of all that aftermarket stuff. Well, I guess it depends on the car, but for this thing, I kind of like the way the stock interior looked. So gonna be getting that radio. Hopefully it works. Probably pulling the steering wheel off and the gauge cluster. Those are probably gonna be the main things. And I will just do the throttle cable and radiator hose as like little side things, since I need to do those for that thing to run. So guess I'm gonna get into it and pull all this stuff off and then show you guys it all removed. All right, so we got the stock radio right here, got the dash, and we got the steering wheel. And we also just went ahead and put in the new, or the used part out throttle cable. As you can see, this thing's back in there. Got a new one, and this is the old one. So it's definitely seen better days. So at least we got the new throttle cable in now, and we're gonna go ahead and do this stuff. All right, so first I'm gonna do the steering wheel, because once the steering wheel's out, it's easier to get the dash out, or the gauge cluster, whatever you call it. So first thing is, there is Torx bits, one on each side, the same spot right here. Once you get both those bolts loosened up, they just stay in there, they don't come out, and you can just lift this thing right off, just like that. As you can see right here, the bolt just stays in there, doesn't actually come out, just unthreads from right there. Then you gotta go ahead and just disconnect this airbag wire. Oh, also, I did disconnect the battery because I don't want this thing blowing up in my face. And then once you disconnect that, you also got to disconnect this one down here for your cruise control. All right, so I got them disconnected, got the airbag right here, and then I also pulled this nut off. It's a 17 millimeter. Then once you do that, you can pretty much just pull this thing off. It is a little stuck on there though, so you get to tap it a few times, and then eventually it will it'll come off, but kind of a pain. All right, so I got the steering wheel out. As you can see, it's all chewed up. Pieces are missing on it, and this one, it's not perfect condition obviously, but there's no pieces missing. It's all like one piece. It is still a little bit worn, but there's no chunks missing like on this one, where completely beat. So, but first I'm gonna go ahead and pull this gauge cluster out. I think you gotta pull this plastic piece out first, which is 2 Phillips head screws, and then it should be, I think on the other one it was 3 screws, 1 up here and 2 at the bottom to pull this actual gauge cluster out. All right, so once you get that piece out, it's a screw right here, screw there, and screw there. And then you're just gonna unplug these 3 connectors. And on this one, something I found that was different was these wires coming in through the bottom. Looks like, no clue what that is, but I don't think that was on the other one, unless they were just unplugged and I didn't see them. But yeah, as you can see, that does not have the same thing. So I'm not sure if I need that. Hopefully not. I don't think I do. Whoops. Yeah, I guess we're gonna go ahead, throw this thing in there now, and hopefully this thing works and it's not junk. All right, so we got the gauge cluster in, got this little panel piece back in, and we got the steering wheel back on. One thing I forgot to mention is when you pull the other steering wheel off, you want to make sure that the wheel is straight. That way when you put this on, you can line it up pretty easy. So you can see, hopefully it's lined up. This thing needs an alignment anyways though, but hopefully this is all lined up. But now all I gotta do is plug this back in and put these 2 screws into the airbag, and then I'm going to connect the battery and make sure the gauge works and the horn and everything else, and my airbag light's not on or anything like that. So let's get to it. All right, got the battery disconnected and the lights turned on, so I guess that means the battery's connected, right? So now about to test it out. Get the key. Well, that's a good sign. Hopefully the dash lights up. Let's see the horn. Horn does work, so that's good. Alright, the only thing I'm worried about right now is that fuel gauge, because I know this thing was at 1/4 of a tank, so waiting to see if that thing drops down. And then I'm gonna make sure this gauge works, and then obviously once I drive it, make sure that works as well. But kind of stinks. It says it's got 219,000 miles on it now, but oh well. So next thing though, I'm gonna go ahead and do. It does look like this thing's working. It's slowly going back down. I don't know why the fuel light's on though. It's kind of weird. Now I gotta go ahead and get this burnt out radio out of this thing so I can have music again. As you can see, it doesn't work, and I'm gonna put that stock one in, and hopefully that one does work. So it looks like the fuel gauge does work. It is back down to 1/4 of a tank, and yeah, so this radio isn't even really bolted in. I can really pull it right out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and disconnect everything on it. Don't know what these are for. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, disconnect it. I think I'm gonna have to pull this plastic trim piece off, which isn't a big deal, probably just unclips. And then pull this tray out, which looks like it's just a few screws. And then hopefully stock radio slides right in and connects. But looking at this, does not look that good. So hopefully everything goes as planned for this. All right, so got the plastic trim piece off, which someone broke it or cut it or something. I'm wondering if it was to fit that radio. But so I might go ahead and order another one. But for now, this thing, I got all the screws out. Should just pull it right out like that. Yep. All right, so I went ahead and plugged the radio into this connector, which is the connector for the radio, obviously. Turn the power on, or turn the key on, and this thing's got no power. It's not turning on nothing. So I'm not really surprised by that, because I believe this is the power wire that has been cut, and I have no clue what is going on with all these wires everywhere which stinks because someone has clearly messed with this thing pretty bad. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is put the radio into the part out over there, hook a battery up to it, turn the key and see if that works. If the radio turns on, then I know at least the radio works, and I gotta mess with this wiring, which is gonna stink. All right, so as you can see, got our battery hooked up to this part out now, and I got the key. Put it in and see if this radio works. Sweet. All right, so it looks like the radio works. Just gotta figure out now the wiring on the Bugeye and figure out what's going on. All right, so still working on this wiring, and what I have found is it does get 12 volts when you turn the key, which it should, to, which wire is it? It should be a yellow and green one right in the middle. Basically that one right there, right next to the black wire to the left. So that one does get 12 volts when I turn the key on. Now, this wire right here, I think it's blue and red or pink or something, but I think it's blue and red. So this one is supposed to be constant 12 volt power, and there is no power coming from that. So I think that's why this radio is not turning on. Probably why that cheap one wasn't either, but gotta figure out where I can get constant power from now and figure out why I am not getting constant power. And once I do that, I am hoping this thing turns on. We're gonna see. All right, so what I went ahead and did is just cut all this extra wire, and I don't even know what's going on with. Just cut it out. It's all aftermarket, don't need it. So it kind of makes it a little more clean so I can kind of figure out what's going on. So as you can see, at least I guess he soldered all the wires together, but basically I need to get power to this wire right now. Gotta cut this because I don't know what this is. Another wire just randomly connected and hanging. There's a few just random wires in here. I'm really not sure what was going on in here. So yeah, once I find power, constant power, I can tap into this, and we should be all set, and hopefully this radio works. All right, so what I think I'm gonna go ahead and do is this red wire right here. I believe the guy that did this, all this crazy wiring crap, I believe he ran that one to the fuel pump. I think that's a wire going to the fuel pump directly straight to the battery right here, which this is not really safe, but anyways, so I think that obviously always has 12 volt power, and I think that's going to be the easiest thing to just tap into, and then run a little wire up through here and connect it to that blue and red wire, and I think we should be all set. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and see if the radio works. Hopefully it does. All right, so we went ahead and wired some speaker wire to that 12 volt wire running to the fuel pump, and got it ran up here now. As you can see, got it running, and I crimped it onto that wire. I barely had any wire left. I'm just cutting this off because I don't want 12 volts going to this, because I don't know why this wasn't producing 12 volts. I don't know if it's grounded or shorted out on something, so I might end up taping this off, just cutting this section off and taping it off. But got it connected to there right now with the multimeter. Now just go ahead and put this into ground. If I can get it. Just like that. So as you can see, 11.93 volts. So this has power now, and we're gonna see if this radio works. Hopefully it does. All right, do you think the radio is about to work?
Ah, shit. And Luca, we trust. 70% success rate.
Fair enough. Oh, also, this is Antonio. He's the one that owns the Prelude.
That'll never drive again.
Yeah, right? For the YouTube. Mark is always doing some weird ass crap here. I don't even know what's going on. Oh, he finally got his tires mounted for the new rims. Not bad. All right, let's see if this radio works. So, just hooked it up and about to find out. Oh, there it is. So, I ended up figuring out it's just that power wire, and now I can go ahead, get this thing back in, and it's just these few screws on each side, and I can put this clip back on, and it should be all set.
That's my favorite channel.
No way. This is Antonio's favorite channel. Fair enough. All right, so got the trim back on and the radio is in. Only problem is, for whatever reason, they cut this trim up to fit that old radio thing in. So I am gonna have to buy a new center trim piece, whatever they call it, because it's all cut and now the radio doesn't look like it fits there. But yeah, so I got that all set. I do have to put a radiator hose on this car too. The lower radiator hose was leaking. And then drive this thing around. Pretty hyped that the interior is pretty much back to stock now. I am looking for the stock gauges that came here and not these stupid aftermarket ones. I kind of want this thing to be completely stock on the inside. I like the look they have, especially with the stock original gauges that came on the O2 Bugeye. They had the 3 gauges here. They look like little old gauges with like little yellow light bulbs in there. And I think that looks pretty cool, but pretty hyped. The steering wheel is mint now. Gauge is back to normal, same with the radio, and I'm hyped that thing should work. Hopefully the cigarette lighter works so I can use the little Bluetooth radio thing to control the radio, but gotta check out what Mark's doing now. Look at this dude. Bro got more money in rims. He's got
the car itself.
Yeah, than the car itself. All right, he's taking his RPF 1s off, and what are these officially called?
Work Equip
Equips.
03.
So the Work Equip 03s. These are 3-piece.
I don't even know which one. 16 by 8.
Oh shit.
22 offset. 175/50. Probably could have got a better tire. I don't know, because I don't know shit.
Damn, those things are fire though. So yeah, he's swapping them onto the Civic right now. He's got this side done. I don't know if you guys can really see because it's dark out, but those things are gonna look fire. Oh, there we go. Damn. We're trying to get his fitment back. Damn. Yeah, fitment's not that great. We gotta lower this thing more now because the RPF ones were a little bit bigger.
Dude, look at the bag, bro. I got a 2-finger gab.
Damn.
What the fuck is going on?
Shit, what the hell? This shit looks mad funny now. He's trying to get like the suspension to settle.
This shit's bouncing like Ethan's Accord.
Damn. Alright, we just drove this shitter to Walmart so I can get one of those cigarette lighter port radio things so I can connect to the radio. But this thing looks pretty fire. Alright, so got the lower radiator hose off. That's the new one right there. But the reason it was leaking is because this clamp actually rotted right off. So I probably could have replaced the clamp, it would have been fine, but this thing's pretty crusty anyways, so probably worth it. Put a new one on right here, and I think I should have a new clamp as well, so because it is like 12 o'clock at night and I can't run to the parts store, but I think I got a clamp for it. Throw it back on and I can bring this thing for a drive. All right, just got the coolant hose replaced. Got a little coolant everywhere, but I just filled this thing up, and now I'm gonna go ahead and start this thing and see if it's leaking still. Hopefully not. If it's not, I'm gonna take it for a drive, see how it is. I also adjusted the tie rods a little bit because the alignment was like crazy off. So I am gonna be putting new coilovers in though, because it's got max speeding rods in right now. So before I actually bring it to the alignment shop, I just adjusted it myself because before I bring it, I want to switch out the coilovers. So yeah, just to let you guys know, tried to line it up as best I could, eyeballing it. But yeah, let me see if this thing's leaking still and go from there. All right, so hopefully you guys can hear me, but seems like it's running mint. It's not leaking at all. So that's a plus. Before it was pouring out of there, but just gonna bleed the system, and then I'm gonna take this thing for a drive. All right, driving this thing around now. Let's see how it goes. All right, so I haven't bled it completely yet. As you can see, it's getting a little hot, so I'm definitely gonna have to put more coolant in there, but I definitely like the way it looks more at night now. I like the OEM radio and the OEM gauge cluster. Steering wheel feels pretty much better too, because it's not missing little pieces and it's chunks missing, whatever. And for eyeballing the alignment, I don't know if you guys saw my previous videos where this thing was almost sideways. Now straight up and down almost, and it goes pretty much straight, so not bad. All right, just took it for a drive, and everything seems mint. So that's gonna wrap it up for this thing. Wasn't the most interesting video of all time, but I figured I'd just update you guys with what I'm doing to this thing as I do things to it. And finally can drive it again, even though it's only been a few days, but definitely gonna drive this thing around tonight. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.